Ye double ha. Yes, it is Thursday. It is 9. So, of course, that means it's Wildcard Cowboys time. How are we doing, fellas?
Not too bad, besides the Scottish weather's absolutely torrential today, so other than that, I'm all good.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll join you on that
scary
weather as
driving
well.
home tonight.
Yeah. We've got Scottish weather down here as well, so don't feel bad.
Tell you, man, that's all it does up here is rain. That's all it does.
Yep.
You're in the wet season now, as they say in Scotland.
Wet season, it's nearly 11 months of the year. Then you've got that 1 month with a little bit of sunshine, and that's it. It's taps off.
That's it. That's why when they go on about the old story with 40 days and 40 nights of flooding, you're just like, that's the weather in the UK. But yes, we're into the wild card round, guys. We are here. You wouldn't think it when you look at some of the Cowboys fans on Twitter and Instagram and what have you. But we are in the playoffs, guys. 12-5 finishing on the season. Solid. Tony Pollard on the weekend, he did get his 9 attempts to take him over 1,000 yards for the season. And CeeDee Lamb finished 5th in total receiving yards amongst wide receivers. How does that all make you feel, guys?
All things considering, it's been a pretty successful season. But don't get me wrong, there could have been things that we could have improved easily.
Yeah, of course.
Against teams that we should have beat. And it seems like there was the games that we should have lost, we actually won and actually played our best games.
Yeah.
So there's just that level of inconsistency, which is something that we've highlighted all across this season. So if anything, but just in the grand scheme of things, I think it has been pretty good, but it just could have been better.
Yeah, it's been erratic at best, but I think across the board in the NFL this year, it's been like that. I mean, you can only really say that the Eagles, unfortunately, are they tailed off when they had to go to Stash Man, but generally, they were looking the cream of the NFC and cream of the league, but everybody's back to 0-0 at the moment. So it's winning you're in, losing you go home. So let's put everything behind us. And from all accounts, the Cowboys had a fantastic practice yesterday. They're getting their work in. Which by all accounts last week, McCarthy had come out in the post-game press conference and said that realistically that I think the Mar Hamlin situation had actually had an effect on people's practice habits last week, as you probably expect. But they didn't practice well last week, and it showed in the game.
Yeah. I totally agree. We are obviously heading back to Tampa. Last time we faced them, the Cowboys lost 19-3. Obviously, that was week 1. Injury riddled, lots of rust.
That was at home, no?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Lots of rust in that game. But I'll ask this question as I do every episode as we hear, and let us know at home, you guys as well, because you're the MVPs of the show. What's your general feeling on this game this week? We've got Brady in the playoffs, who's 7-0 against Dallas, but the Tampa team in general, especially in the back quarter of the season, has looked really bad. I mean, how do you feel about the game?
Personally, I think this could be a game for the taking. I'm sorry to...
There he is.
Oh, God. One. Sorry, my dog just decided to interrupt what I was saying there. Yeah, I think this game's there for the taking, to be honest. Like, as you kind of mentioned there, like, I really want to end Brady not being undefeated against us throughout his career. I really like to give him that loss Like, and likely this could be his last ever potential game as a player. So, I would like Dallas to actually put that nail in the coffin. Like you kind of mentioned, in terms of their overall team, they've been very, very hit and miss. So, if Dallas was to turn up as they would expect, like we did against Minnesota, then we'll definitely wipe the floor without a doubt.
Yeah, I think again the only team that can beat the Cowboys are the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You know, what we saw last weekend, was certainly the Cowboys beating the Cowboys. I mean, that was statistically the worst game for everybody. The offensive line weren't gelling. The Dak was off. Even the receivers and running backs. I mean, a pitch out from Dak to Zeke, and Zeke almost fumbled it. Things like that. If we play to the best of our abilities, and we're a much different team. As Joe's saying here, we didn't have Gallup, we didn't have T.Y. Hilton.
True.
In week one.
Yep.
We just lost Tyron Smith.
We just lost Tyron Smith. Tyler Smith was starting his first ever game. He's now got a bit more under the belt. He knows what he's expecting to face. This has the potential that we should be able to win it. The fact that we're playing on grass, the fact that we're playing away from home and we haven't won an away playoff game is a little bit concerning, but that's easy enough to override. If you go out and do your job, that's it. So I'm reasonably confident.
Yeah.
Well, that's for sure. Go on, Paul.
It's like Lord says, our biggest enemy is ourselves. Like, I'm not concerned about Tampa Bay as such. We know what they bring to the table, and we know that they're very more inconsistent than we have been. But it just really depends how we turn up more than anything. I find that is the issue. Like, so that's my biggest concern. It's like, what team are we bringing out against against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday night?
Yeah, and the scary bit is always saying it's Tom Brady in the playoffs, because we've seen this so many times. It is a scary prospect to see, but we will break it all down as we go through this now. And it'll help alleviate people's problems. Shall we get into the news and updates and crack on with the show, guys?
Yep, go for it.
Yep.
All right, let's hit this. All righty. So, got some interesting news that we'll hit with first. First of all, practice report. Tyron Smith and D'Lo are both limited. What is interesting and very good news: Leighton Vander Esch, Jonathan Hankins, Tyler Biadasz, Deron Bland, which was a big one because he left the game in Washington with a chest injury, and also Xavier Rhodes have all been in practice this week. That's an interesting move as well, because I know we talked about it in the post-game show. I wasn't really that impressed by Trayvon Mullen.
No, Merlin. I don't know, but I find we're bringing Xavier Rhodes in is definitely going to help us. Like, it's going to definitely fill the gap. Is it going to be a long-term solution? Probably not. But yeah. Like you mentioned, like Hankins and Biadasz. This is all, and don't forget LVE as well. Like, this is all going to be really good going into this game. So, knowing that we've got these players, we should have no excuses going out to perform against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, their list of injuries coming into this game is quite big, because one of the things that's fallen off for Tampa was the sacks, which has affected them in the passing game. But what is interesting is defensive end Carl Nassib and Vita Vea as well, who are huge parts of that defensive line and what they do in both run stopping and in the passing game. were injured last week, and they've come in this week limited.
No, Carlton Narsip was full practice.
He went, he was full, but he was injured at the start of the week. So that is interesting to look at. On the other side of it, defensive ends, Carlton Davis, Mike Edwards, Logan Ryan, all came in with injuries. Logan Ryan, the one there that is looking on the practice report, both of their centers, which is crazy on the offensive line, are both unknown. We don't know who's going to be playing center this week.
Are you looking at? I'm sorry, mate. What injury report are you looking at right now?
It's just based off the injury reports from last week, as well as the Bucks practice report from today.
Because I've got the practice report right in front of me just now. I've only got Robert Hainsley, who's got a hamstring. He's limited.
Their other centers being put on injured reserve.
Right. That's probably why it's not been flagged up. Okay.
Yeah.
Like they've actually got quite a few offensive linemen. Like for Nick Leverett, he's shoulder, knee and shoulder injury. Then there's John Molchin, ankle, and he's limited as well. So it kind of plays in our favor, really.
It's an interesting report. Mike Evans as well. He had an illness at the start of the week. So don't know how that's going to affect him. And Russell Gage did too. Not illness. He had a separate injury. But they're not sure on the practice report, which is interesting. But that was the start of the week. Go on. Sorry, Lorne. What was you going to say, mate?
No. I was just agreeing with Paul. You know, their offensive line has been beat up all season. I mean, obviously, you flash back 18 weeks ago, we were talking about how they had they had a jump start offensive line. You know, they were starting a tackle at center. That lasted a while, and then he got injured, and he's now on injured reserve. You've got they've had multiple pieces, and I think that's actually affected the style of their game. They've had to go to a quick pass. They've had to go to a quick passing game as a result of that. But
their offensive line, even with the injuries, though, have done really well this year.
Yeah.
I mean, like the chink in Brady's armor, in one sense, is that he really does not, especially since he's gone to Tampa and he's gotten a bit older, he will refuse to take a sack. So, although the offensive line has done well, it is a little bit like how productive it looks is a little bit inflated by Brady throwing the ball away or throwing that quick stabby, pass out, the short passing game, which is what, primarily he was known for in New England. But that is what sort of makes it look as good as it does. But they have done really well, even with the injuries. Yeah.
I think one of the things with the Bucks offense this season, particularly in the latter weeks, is that, Brady will use the sort of 5-yard outs, the short passing game as the running game. I mean, Brady and his quarterbacks, the other quarterbacks have, I think it's 738 passes they've only run the ball 397 times.
Yeah.
So, it is heavily stacked towards their passing game. Leonard Fournette as well. He has 70. I think he's third on the team with 73 receptions as well, which that shows that they're using the backs out of the backfield, whether it's a screen game or whether it's just thrown to the flats. It's almost like the old West Coast offense style where you try and dink and dunk it down the field and get your yardage that way. And you're not throwing the ball up in the air too many times, risking interceptions, which
and that's what Brady was really known for in New England.
Yeah.
But there we go. I mean, there's the news and updates for the injuries at the moment. What is also we also know is the Cowboys will be playing in their Navy uniform this weekend.
Oh, that's not a good sign, no.
No. But let's move on to the Cowboys offense then, guys, and get rolling and looking at what we're looking at here. Looking at what we're looking at. There we go. I like that. We're going to look what we look at. But yes, all right then, guys. Cowboys offense. Everyone at home as well. Tell us what you think. What are your feelings or your analysis on the Cowboys offense? Just let us know, even where you're watching from. So first of all, what is I find quite interesting is how the passing game is going to be quite important in this game. In the last 3 games, Tampa have really struggled against the pass. Some of it is down to just getting a lack of pressure up front. They have failed to do that.
Which is quite weird considering they've got Nassib and they've got Vita Vea, like guys like
That whole line is
they've got a really good defensive line, but they just not seem to be
being their
getting.
identity.
Yeah, I mean they're much better. I'll be perfectly honest. Their run defense is much better than their pass rush. That is a given fact, especially in the inside with Vita Vea being on the 1 tech or the 0. He's definitely so effective there. Nassib though, like we know what he's capable of, but he's just seems to be he's not like getting the numbers and stuff, but he is still creating pressures and stuff like that. But they're just not getting to the quarterback as quickly as enough. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because they started off quite strongly, getting a lot of sacks, and then it just seems to be as the season developed, especially in this tail end, they kind of like dropped off a little.
Yeah, if there's any one concern, it'd be like from the linebackers dropping down to the line of scrimmage. That'd be more my concern. Like dropping in and filling in the gaps to put the prayer like for a blitz or something like that. That's what really happened to us against on week 1, pretty much.
Yeah. But I mean, on top of that, their safeties and cornerbacks have struggled too. They've had injuries on the defensive back room, which is true, but they're just failing to get physical, especially in man coverage.
Well, funny that you mentioned about safety. Both Keanu Neal and Logan Ryan are both on the participation.
Limited,
and Keanu Neal was full practice.
Yep.
Yeah, and they have struggled just to generally be there, but
sorry, make that free safety. Sorry, there was Mike Edwards as well.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yep. So all basically pretty much all 3 of their safeties are pretty much on the report.
Yeah, and they've been struggling, and the guys who have been left behind, I mean, they've had flashes, but generally they've been a little bit lacking in terms of being able to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa, the last 2 years, Tampa's defensive backs have been questionable most of the time. Yeah. They don't seem to have that sort of chemistry, whether that's obviously, bringing in new talent, as you move away from that Super Bowl team of 2 years ago. But, it has been the question mark. And obviously, the last time that we were in Tampa, Dak had a good game against them. And, albeit we left Brady enough time on the clock, that could have been a win in our cap. We just need to be on the same page between Dak and our receivers to make sure that we can capitalize on the weakness there.
Yeah, and I mean, people will revert back to the last game against the Commanders, but I just think when you go back and look at it, there's a lot of soft. It was a very soft. Style of football. They were playing very little movement, no motion, kind of just like there was very unusual route concepts and the whole design play. And I think all they were doing is they were just holding back is what I'm thinking. They just didn't want to. And because think about this. Tampa cannot use that game to analyze the offense because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
When you go back and look at it, what are you analyzing? What are you taking away from that game?
The games
you can't use that tape.
The games that should be watching is the ones where we were on flight, like the 4th quarter against Indianapolis, the whole game against the Vikings, etc., etc. Those are the games they should be mostly studying. Like the thing that,
Yeah. But I mean, like, if you was to go back and have a look to see recent form, like you can't use that game.
yeah.
There's nothing you can take away from it. But we're gonna get
Well, and saying that, mate, you still can take away from that. You can take away from their formations, take away how their blocking scheme works for those certain plays, and where the downfalls are, where you can still penetrate, still execute and get to his stack and stuff like that. So there is still things you can analyze.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, like what it looks like when they're using the zone blocking scheme or gap power, where those guys are, if you like. I mean, we'll talk about the offensive line in a minute, but let's talk about Zeke and Tony in this game. Tampa, as you said, Paul, they do play well against the run. Again, they've struggled. They actually finished on the season against running defense, finished 14th, which is surprising.
Yeah, I think it just really depends on who they play against as well, how the opposing offensive linemen are they're playing up against as well makes a difference. So
yeah.
And again, there's games where they've completely just had a disaster of a game defensively as well. So again, we don't even know what type of Tampa team is going to turn up in their home game.
True.
Like it's literally like both the way how both teams are right now. We're already in hot and cold form going into this playoffs. So it's literally a roll of the dice, really. So I just don't know what to expect, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously they're certainly strong up the middle. When Vita Vea is on top form, they're strong up the middle. He is an absolute beast to handle. But they are susceptible on the edge. I mean, Nassib's known as more of a pass rusher than setting the edge. He's not a DeMarcus Lawrence type of defensive end. So if you can get the ball on the outside, it could be a big day for Pollard. And again, mix it up with Zeke. I mean, we really need our offensive line to be on top form, I think.
So hitting you with this question then, Lon. Who and where are you putting in this starting offensive line? Let us know at home too.
I would pretty much go back to the offensive line of a couple of weeks ago before Biadasz went down. Now, if Biadasz is good to go, I would play Biadasz. I think Tyler Smith is limited as a guard at the moment. Again, because he spent the whole season at tackle, and you hate to say it, but I think Jason Peters and Tyron Smith, they're not as effective as they have. They're
particularly on the right.
Particularly on the right, but I mean, Peters was pretty bad on the left-hand side as well. I thought last week as well, McGovern didn't have as good a game at centre.
That was expected. It was expected, though, to be honest. Like, it was his first game playing that. He's been playing mostly snaps and left guard, so you would expect McGovern to be put back. I'm more happy how our left side of the ball is going to be positioned, but I'm more concerned just on the right-hand side, like for who's going to be the right tackle. Like, well, obviously, there is potential going to be Tyron, but he's, like you said, Lauren, it's just he's shown he's still got good quality of how much of a good player he is, but because he's just not used to playing in that side, he does tend to get caught out.
Yeah, and I mean, to see Effie Abada making mincemeat of him in the Commanders game there,
he's had a good season.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I mean, F.A. Obada is nobody's. He's
not a slouch.
Yeah. And I mean, he's come on since 2014 when he earned his spot with the Cowboys.
Yeah, trust me, he's became a long way since he played for the London Warriors. Trust me, I tell you that.
Yeah. True. Oh, I know.
Playing against them, Christ.
Yeah, I mean, like, because. I'm looking at, you jumped on straight away what I was looking at, Lorne, and that is the issues with Tyler Smith. Is ironically the place where he played in college is where he struggled on this Cowboys offensive line. Like he actually looks. I think he's played better as a tackle this season than he has as a left guard. Which kind of plays in our favor in one sense because we can keep McGovern in a spot where he's been effective this year. And I think some of it is, as you say, like it's his rookie year. He was in camp playing guard. Tyron Smith goes down, and week one, he's got to play left tackle. He's got to learn it lickety split and come in week one. I know the results of that on week one. Yeah, that you could say, but I think, especially for a guy in his rookie season who's been messed about quite a bit, moving between two spots, the only trouble we got is, like you say, is what do you do at right tackle? Because Tyron Smith, as good as he is, he has struggled on that right-hand side of the line. I think, like, especially his footwork on the right, he struggled with.
I wouldn't say, I think struggle is probably too strong of a word.
Inconsistent.
I'd say moments. I would say moments. Moments of being uncomfortable in that position. Like I would say, I think he's more effective in the run block than go
the other way.
Yeah, other way about. Run block, no. Pass protection, yes.
There you go. I've seen the same thing. Yeah, and it seems to be his. I said footwork. It seems to be his footwork on run blocking because I think he's so used to stepping off on his right foot on the left-hand side that he's still doing the same thing that side, and it's causing him to be his body position in the wrong place.
Chris, one foot's forward than the other. It's like you're not used to it.
Yeah, like, just so used to the repetition of it.
Yeah, and Lauren, you can speak for yourself as well. It's like if there's one thing I did not like, it's like I didn't like being swapped over sides on the offensive line. I did not like it. I felt uncomfortable. I felt way out of sync. I feel as though I was only contributing maybe 10% of what I was capable of doing, and especially when you're in your stance with your depending on what
it's very different.
It's very different because if you're kick step or going your first step,
your first step, which is most important.
It's the most important one, because you're setting the principle on it. Whether it's because normally it's you use all the power on your back foot directing. If you're going on to the if you're on left, you're going to the right. Then you use your back foot to really leap forward with your left and really take that stance and go forward with it. So but yeah, it's If I'm playing on left, never play me on the right. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I guess with these guys, they don't have an option because that is their job end of the day. But if it was my preference, no, keep me on the left no matter what.
Yeah. And you think as well, and I'll let you answer on this as well, is that you think how long Tyron Smith's been in the league, and you think of just like the natural muscle memory he's built up over that time, just play after play on that left-hand side, that naturally just everything in him is just, the muscle memory is all integrated into him. Do you know what I mean, Lon?
Yeah, completely. I mean, he's only played, I think it was his rookie season that he played right tackle, and then from that point on, it was left tackle. Yeah. And obviously, he became the big star that he is on the back of when he made the switch to left tackle, and not, as Paul says, I mean, I was always mostly on the right hand side. The couple of times that I played left hand side, one of them was I basically was on a year out because my son had been born, and I was called in to play a game, and it took me time to gel with the rest of the offensive line anyway, and then the whole thing of being on the wrong side as well. Was just terrible. It was probably my worst game ever. I'm. When you've played one position or one side of the line, it's better to stay on that side of the line, and that's why, Zach Martin says the same thing. He would quite happily play right tackle if he had to. He wouldn't want to switch across to left tackle unless it's an absolute dire emergency. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I always keep saying, Mike, it's like if your 100% effort is on one certain position, if you move in a certain point of that defense offensive line, that percentage effectiveness diminishes.
True.
Right but if you swap from the other complete side, then then it really drops down. So I'd rather be more close to 100% effective than I would be like given 25%.
Yeah, yeah, and you spoke to the other side of it too, Lorne, when you said like it's not just the whole thing of like naturally how you play and where you position yourself. It's also the person you're playing next to that can have because like you get very, very used to the strengths and weaknesses of the guy next to you. You know certain things, little twitches and only very small, minute movements. All of a sudden, you move that person to the other side and they're trying to pick up on those little nuances of that play. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to develop, and that can put the whole thing out of killer. And it's no surprise that I put the tweet out the start of the week about the average yards per carry since Terrence Steele has left from week 14. It's a big drop. It's no surprise either.
Yep. I mean, part of that as well is the quality of competition that we've gone up against as well. That
true.
The Titans defense are pretty good against the run. The Commanders defense, obviously, when they're at their best as well, they've got a good run defense as well. And Jacksonville were no slouches as well. So all of those had an effect on our yardage anyway. But it's certainly not helped by the inconsistent play while people are adjusting on the offensive line.
And they have messed about with that line a lot. Like, not just game by game. Sometimes it's quarter by quarter where you're seeing like a totally different, and like all of a sudden you're into the third quarter and you're looking at a different line grouping again. And you're like, okay. That can mess with a lot of the cohesiveness that you really, really need. But we'll finish on the offensive side looking at the wide receivers and Dalton Schultz. First question is your predictions and people at home. Was last week against the Commanders the last game of the regular season we see Dalton Schultz in the Cowboys jersey?
I think so, personally.
Yeah. I think.
I mean, with a little bit inside the news type of thing, like I'm not going to mention who my source is or anything like that. I don't want that, but like apparently he's just not been happy with the whole situation being in Dallas and that, but I can expect him to kind of be off a short unless things have changed in the past couple of weeks. But so I don't expect Schultz to stay on, and the way how it'll be interesting to see how Ferguson and Hendershot develop into next season. And also, we might even draft an athlete, and there is not. I think correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it's not maybe all right tight ends coming into this draft.
Yeah, no, there's some decent ones, definitely.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I think as Paul says, I mean, I think there's no way you're going to pay Schultz another 11 million. You might. With all the other contracts that are coming up, and then you'll want to build on what talent you have this year as well. You don't want to regress anyway in the talent. You're going to have to try and sign guys. I think at the moment it's predicted that they haven't actually set the cap at the moment, but if you go to overthecap.com, we're about 8 million under the cap. But you've probably got about 20 players to sign again as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of juggling there. If Tyron goes off into the sunset, then hopefully you get a little bit of money back from that you can claw put in a claim back for some of that. But they might try and do the right thing by him and let him go with what's left of his contract money as well. You certainly don't want them leaving with a bitter taste as well. Yeah, I mean, I think Schultz is probably gone, and I think you're probably going to be looking to get younger again. So you're probably going to draft somebody. And
So
as
you don't think they're going to stick with the two guys they got, Ferguson and Hendershot? They haven't provided enough, do you think?
I think they will. I think they will. No, I think they will. I think there's a basis there, but you still want to have 3-4 tight ends,
Yeah,
especially in this
yeah.
offense as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think McKeon's up for a new contract as well, or he's up as a free agent this year as well. So
Yeah.
you're looking at replacing two guys anyway. And obviously it's better if you go younger whenever you have the opportunity. And obviously Lunda Wells has done a fantastic job this year with the guys that he has. If you bring in Lunda Wells back, then you've already got the basis there with Ferguson and Hendershot. Anybody else that you could bring in, if you can get the same sort of camaraderie going as well, and they're playing unselfish and they're teaching everybody and what have you, then you build by getting a younger team and live with the little errors that you make as a rookie or whatever. But you get them blooded a hell of a lot earlier, and you're ready to go.
Yes. So, I think so. I think, and as Paul said, without saying too much, without giving people's names away, Dalton Schultz is not happy with certain aspects of playing for Dallas. Which is, the trouble is what you've got with Schultz, which is evident and very clear, is that as good as Schultz is a bit of a jack of all trades type of guy, but what his biggest strength is the chemistry he has with Dak. And we see it time and time again, where he is, in terms of the progressions, he's always the last man, and he always seems to be open in that sweet spot for Dak. And as long as he's open, Dak will throw to him, and he always manages to do it. But in terms of wide receivers, guys, because last week both Noah Brown and Michael Gallup had struggles. But this is a game where I think not so much Noah Brown, but Michael Gallup and T.Y. Hilton can attack. Because where Tampa struggle the most is where they play best, in that intermediate downfield distance. How do you guys foresee this? Is this a big CD Lamb game? Is it a game where we're going to see a bit of a mixture of all the guys? T.Y. Hilton hasn't had a bad time since he's come to Dallas. Where do you think the attacking spot comes from for the wide receiver core?
I think right under the nose it's going to be T.Y. Hilton. I think obviously the primary is going to be CD Lamb. Primary. Like, it's kind of, I know I'm not going to say predictable, but I think where it comes to the more desperate situations, I think that's where T.Y. will come in. Like, it's like if we're third down, throw it to T.Y., he will get us out of the mess pretty much.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you're going to, obviously this is week 3 for having Hilton active as well. So week 4 in terms of practicing, I think that's, this is when he should be showing up. He was there or thereabouts in the game against the Commanders there. There was just that little bit of synchronicity that was missing between him and Dak. But I think, it will pick up this week. And I think, he has the ability to exploit the Tampa Bay zone scheme that you're talking about. So I think that's what we'll be looking at. And then, the one thing is Daco actually, he will pass around to all the receivers. So, in all the games that he's played against Tampa, he has spread it around to various receivers. So, he will go for, well, you want to say he will go. It obviously depends what Dak Prescott turns up as well. So,
all right, now easy, Lorne.
Yep.
You can get everybody into trouble, yeah? All right. Let's get on to the Cowboys defense, and then we can get to other parts of the show. But let's look at the Cowboys defense versus the Tampa offense, guys. Okie dokie. First question. Is Micah Parsons fatigued?
Yep.
You think?
No question about it. Straight to the point. Yep. Sorry, on you roll on.
No, I think we were, obviously when we were going into this season, there was a lot of questions about where were you going to play Micah, and it does seem that predominantly he's been playing as a defensive end, but obviously he's still playing with a linebacker's body, effectively. If you were asking him to play, they should have been saying in the off season, if you're planning on playing him as a defensive end, that he should have maybe bulked up a bit, put a little bit of beef on. But no, they kept him at the same weight as he was as a rookie, and I think obviously best laid plans and all that, you can go in with an idea of how you're going to play him, but then as needs must, you end up playing him. You end up adjusting. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing him tail off. I mean, he's been count the number of times he's gone down and you thought, oh, that's it, he's out, he's going to be out this next week, or he's out the remainder of the game, and then he only comes in on third down or whatever. That Rams game earlier in the season, you thought that he'd probably pulled his groin muscle or something.
Yeah,
and he
that's
was going
right,
to be out 6 to 8 weeks. He hasn't actually missed a game, but and then there's the club hand, and at one point last week, okay, he was back to just wearing gloves with a little bit of tape on, but at one point you saw him holding the hand like that and, trying to get the blood flowing again or whatever and get rid of the pain or whatever. So there's a whole list of ailments, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is something at the end of the season you see him undergoing some sort of surgery.
Yeah, because like you say, he needed to bulk up if he's going to do it, more than anything because of the double blocks and chips, which he does not like.
No.
But what is interesting is, as we're talking about this, Todd Archer has literally just tweeted saying about Micah Parsons, how he feels physically. And this is what Micah Parsons had to say to that. He said, in the last couple of weeks, I feel like the season's long, and at the end of the season, you tend to chase things. You tend to do everything, but now I feel like I've now hit my second wind in terms of how I feel. I feel like I feel better now than I have the past couple of weeks, just because how anxious and excited I am. End quote.
He could have just said he was tired.
Yeah. But basically, I felt tired.
It felt like
but now I feel better.
Honestly, it felt like a politician's way of saying a simple answer, just like really extending it just a bit more. I'm not going to disrespect Micah Parsons by any means, but he could have shortened that answer.
Yeah.
Yes. So it also on defense, Xavier Rhodes has also given a statement on his first time practicing with Dallas Cowboys, and he said, "Can I go on Monday?" ? If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. But yeah, today was good, so I'm getting the hang of the playbook, and everything felt good out there. It's now up to the coaches. End quote. Xavier Rhodes.
Fingers crossed. We need as much help as we can get at this corner right now.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, the big news, really, right, guys, when we talk about this, I know obviously on the other side, we talked about Tyler Biadasz coming back in. He was a full participant, so it looks like he's going to play. The big news on the other side, I think, which is absolutely at this stage very critical, is because of how the Cowboys played the first time they met Tampa. Their running back went for over 100 yards. The only game this season Leonard Fournette has gone over 100 yards was against the Cowboys in week 1. Big news. Jonathan Hankins, Leighton Van Der Esch are going to return. How massive, how big is that, and how well do those two play together in run defense, guys?
I think it's instrumental for us that these guys are back. I mean, obviously with Hankins, you don't have to put guys like Osa Odighizuwa in at the one, Golston or whatever. Now, they had good games last week, but obviously they aren't this big run stuffing body that we keep talking about that we need. And then with Leighton Van Der Esch being back in as well. I mean, you saw last week that Damone Clark, unfortunately, his recognition isn't up there yet. You saw at one point there was one play where it was a running play, and for some reason he dropped back as if he was the Tampa 2 linebacker. Was 15 yards down the field defending a pass before he actually realised that the running backs got into the second line of the defence. And I think Anthony Barr, is as good as he's been, he's a little bit slow. He's obviously lost a step. So if you can get Van Der Esch back in and obviously take over the green dot duties as well.
Yeah.
He is a coach on the field. He's getting guys into possession. He's getting Clark into possession.
Very
telling them
vocal.
what he's looking at as well. Yeah. And as I say, when we've been discussing Van Der Esch, I think he's earned himself another contract. So if you can get him signed as well, that's another key piece for our defense. So
maybe another 1-year deal, you think?
Yeah, maybe try and get him up to a 3-year deal as well, or something like that as well, that you can still walk away on after 2 years if need be.
Yeah. I like that. What do you think, Paul?
This is for LVE.
Yeah.
I bring him back no matter what.
Here's what's ironic, right? The numbers are going across the bottom there. Leighton Van Der Esch still ranks second on the team in total tackles, and he has not played the last quarter of the season. Just goes to show where he was. And I think what is a big thing is Cowboys on third down on defense have been pretty good. And I think one of the part and parcel of how effective they've been in stopping third down on defense has been Leighton Van Der Esch being able to get on those short third downs, getting to the ball carrying and stuffing him before they get to the line.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a confidence thing, perhaps. He's not so much concerned anymore, that he feels confident and good about his neck injury that, has debilitated him in the past. So I think that's a big part of what, they've done. But let's talk about this, guys. The bit that scares me the most. 2 parts. One is the defensive tackle position. But the other one, more specifically, is the cornerback 2 position. At this stage, I think it's Nation Wrights, yeah?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, going on what you've seen, Nation Wright has been the better of the guys that we've been auditioning in recent weeks. Kelvin Joseph, hasn't been there. Mullen last week, I mean, you saw why, who was it, Marcus, when he was on a couple of weeks ago, was saying that, Mullen is a project. He's never lived up to that second-round draft pick. And of all the Clemson corners that we have on our roster, he was more happy with Mackenzie Alexander. Now, Mackenzie Alexander didn't play last week because he tweaked his groin, I think, the week before. So he's not shown up on the practice report this week, so he should be good to go again as well. And then you got Xavier Rhodes, who, again, if nothing else, should be there in a teaching capacity. But hopefully you can get something out of him as well this week, and you can get him playing to a level that you only need him to play 5 or 6 plays or something like that. You don't need him there down in, down out. But I think in some respects last week, the game against the Commanders, because you were auditioning all these people, you maybe hindered Nation Wright in in his progression. We talked about how he got better and better the 2 weeks that he'd played.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit disappointing to see that you were taking him off and bringing Mullen in and what have you, and then obviously,
I'm just glad. I don't know what you think, because I said this on Tuesday on the post-game show, though. I may as well ask you, Lorne, because you know, you obviously wasn't there. But I'm glad in the Commanders game that we got to see Mullen, so we know. Because I watched that game, seeing what he was, and went, there we are. That was what we had from previous cornerbacks that we've even drafted. You know, very similarly. Great athleticism, physical, but cannot locate the ball. Sounds like a lot of cornerbacks we've had at Dallas in the past. And I'm glad that we've seen it there and not in a playoff game where they're going to face possibly Julio Jones. Don't think so. But Mike Evans and Chris Godwin certainly. And Russell Gage can be a little under the radar player at times as well. When you think of that, like if I'm Tampa right now, I'm going, the cornerback 2 position for Dallas is up for, you know, that's the place to attack. So I think certainly Dan Quinn, because they haven't done it at the moment, but I do think going forward, Dan Quinn needs to be offering Nahshon Wright some safety help over there.
Yeah. I think one other thing as well, I mean, as I alluded to at the beginning of this podcast as well, you know, Tampa are focusing on the short passing game.
Yeah.
Our defense is at the moment, we're playing off a hell of a lot. We're not playing press. We're not playing press coverage. This is the week I would turn it on its head and go up and, you know, jam these guys in the face as they're coming off the line.
Get physical.
You get physical and disrupt that timing. Fair enough if you know, use your safeties then to cover the back as well, so that if they do get off the line, then you know you're covered, so that you're not giving up too much of a play. But if you're playing off, you're gonna give Mike Evans and co 5 yards a pop, and they'll take that. You know, one of the reasons why our sacks have come down is we've not been able to get the offense into position, either with them getting holding penalties or whatever. We've not put them in a position where then Micah Parsons, Dorrance Armstrong, everybody can just pin their ears back and go straight for the quarterback. We need to try and get back to that. And part of that as well is because of the defense as well. The run defense being, you know, giving up yardage in the middle or whatever, and giving up running plays on first and second down, you know, they are then into third and short plays. So, you know, you can't just focus on the pass. You know, you still got to be able to protect against the run as well. So
it's very true. That's how you help your corners. Everything does always start the front. But what is interesting is last week, because it's all about, for the Cowboys in a Dan Quinn system, it's all about the rotation of players. What was interesting to see last week is seeing the likes of, well, Osa, Osa, but Sam Williams, you've seen getting sacks and pressures back there. You know, Dante Fowler's doing some dirty work as well. What is interesting is seeing those rotational players, which are going to be quite important, because the offensive line, you know, as we were mentioning earlier, has been okay. And as you mentioned, it's a lot of quick passing, so they need to get over there quickly. They need to be operating fast to get to Brady. And once you start getting in Brady's face, that, you know, like we've seen it so many times, that when you see Brady, you know, screaming and ranting and raving, it's because he hates taking sacks. He hates pressure. That is his chink in his armor. That's what I was saying earlier. You start doing that, the game falls apart on him.
I think there's a stat where Brady, if you sack Brady about 3 times in a game, then that's the only time he has a losing record, or you know, statistically he is poor when he's been sacked 2 or 3 times in a game. So getting ruffled, and you know, that then plays into your strengths.
Yeah, definitely. All right then. Are we ready to do this?
Go for it.
All right then. Final score predictions. Everyone at home as well. Whether you're doing this live or after the show, when you're at this stage, we need to know what is your final score predictions. I have not submitted mine yet into Blogging Boy. I'll do this after. So let me have a think. I think the final score is going to be 24-14 to Cowboys. They are playing on the road.
I'm going to go.
Yes.
I'm going to go 23-17. So again, I'm fairly close.
Yeah. Paulius Maximus.
26-17 Dallas.
Interesting score lines. Especially Dallas.
I'm expecting a lot of Brett Maher in this game.
Oh, okay. The wind factor not concerning you?
If we can get it within 40 yards, I'll have no issues.
The gusts are quite high, apparently, for this weekend. Or I should say for Monday. Yeah, or I should say for people in the UK and Europe, Tuesday.
Yeah, so let me bring up the scores from everyone in the chat so far. So Tim went Dallas 30, Tampa 20.
I like it.
And Joe, our good friend from Italy, he's went Dallas 35, Tampa Bay 21. And Joe did ask a question earlier. It's not nothing to do with score predictions, but he did ask us in terms of what do we think we should do for the franchise tag.
It could be, if needs be, like depending on how they feel going forward, that could be Tony Pollard.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep.
It's the only one that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Running back is actually one of the cheapest.
Very true.
Franchise tags. So
franchise tags on that is about 30. No, I think it's less. About
I think it was only about 9.8 last season. So we're paying more for Dalton Schultz than if we if we were in that position and having to franchise Pollard last year. I think it was only about 9.8. So and the only reason why that's so high is obviously Zeke is bumping the number up for that position.
Yeah. So interesting. But here we go, right, guys? Final segment and we'll get out of here. I hear you asking fantasy in the playoffs. No, don't worry. It's the last time all of UK Cowboys TV we will ever be doing the fantasy line second, because all we're doing at this stage is crowning the winner.
Oh, shooter.
I have a
gut feeling we actually got quite a lot of them wrong, and Jamie still wins.
I think I certainly didn't do too well last week. I think you probably are close, Paul.
I will tell you now, Lorne, that for all the gambles that you put in, I love the gambling. I like it. Yep. You know, who dares wins, as they say. You needed to get 4 right to take the trophy. You only got 2 right.
I don't think I got it. Oh.
Big Game James remarkably got 50% right, which means amongst the guests, he is first, second, third, fourth. He's 5th. Are we ready for the scores, guys?
Let's go for it.
Where did everyone finish? Yes, Paul scraped it by 0.5%. You beat Jamie by 0.5%. So Paul is this year's fantasy line winner with 50% accuracy. Jamie with 49, Lorne with 38, Rich with 22. Graham, believe it or not, never managed to post a score.
Shocking, Graham. Shocking.
Guests, your guy Nix, he stayed all the way.
He didn't have. If I was next, I wouldn't have wanted to come back on the show just to
keep that score.
Yeah.
So Nick's 82%. Cowboys fan came in second with 70%. James 60%. Big Game James 50%. Bluff City Cowboys right behind with 47%. And we won't talk about Heckmers.
I don't think Ketmer will want to come back after about that.
Certainly not when we're doing the fantasy predictions anyway.
No, definitely not.
But it was a close one. It was a close one.
So are you going to tweet that out? Yeah.
Maybe without Heckman's score because he got upset last time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, well done. So we will do it all again next season. Yeah. There is, just so people are aware, we don't know how early we're going to bring it in, but there is going to be, going forward, a new segment we will be adding to the show. Might do it during the draft shows because it can be quite interesting. But basically, you will be able to leave us a voice message and we'll play it on the show. So you can call in the show.
Oh.
Yes. Me and Jamie were talking about it. And there is a way to do this. You know what Jamie's like? He's the godfather. And he'll say, I want this to go on. And you find a way. So keep an eye on that. We will let you know. Yes. But let's do this then, and we'll get out of here and let everybody get back to their lives. We will start with with you, Mr. Lawn. Hit us with it.
Right, okay, so regular season's over, postseason's on at the moment. If you're going to the game, try booking through Cowboys Experience for the ultimate meet and greet, stadium tours, game tickets, tailgating, much, much more. Get to meet players like Micah Parsons, Sam Williams, Zach Martin, Jay Novacek. By the way, shouts out to Jay Novacek and his wife.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's undergoing open heart surgery at the moment.
Yeah.
So we wish her all the best. But if you do book through Cowboys Experience, tell them that we sent you. Use the code UK Cowboys, and what you get?
You get free stuff. And
That's right.
Also, just to kind of mention as well, it's actually number 88, Drew Pearson's birthday today as well.
Correct. Yes,
So,
it is his birthday.
And guys, you can also get the opportunity to meet Drew Pearson at Cowboys Experience as well. But you could do it with us. Yeah, and speaking about Cowboys Experience, who are helping us with our travel package for this year, not next year, this year. Yeah, so for the 2023 season, which will include game tickets, the tours, the meet and greets, much, much more, including a possible college football game. But for more information, be sure to go and check out our Facebook group. And also be sure to go and check out these amazing content creators. We had Big Game James on last week, where it was J Tuck's birthday on Tuesday there. Like all the guys from SB Nation, who you can catch me and Med on every Saturday.
And we were talking to Jeff as well in a week.
Yeah, Jeff Kavanagh. Yeah, big shout out to Jeff.
Oh, I mean Jeff Reinbold.
Oh, Rainbow, sorry.
Yeah, he's popped in saying, telling us to keep it up. It's always nice to hear from Jeff. Jeff's a nice guy.
Both Jeffs are nice.
Both Jeffs are nice. Yes, yes. Jeff C is also nice too. Yeah. So that is it, guys, for this week. So obviously, no matter what, we will be continuing on. Make sure to go give the podcast and wherever you're watching from, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and have a lovely weekend. And get that coffee pot on, because if you're watching from outside the States, it's a 1 a.m. kickoff.
That'll be my remedy.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah. All right then, guys. Well, as we do every week, so have your last game, we'll get out of here.
I don't know if you guys actually heard Mike there, because he sounded really muffled there, but I'm pretty sure he's saying have a good night. So it's a good night for me.
Yep. Let's send Tom Brady off into sunset with a 0. You know,
retire his ass. Retire his ass.